Don't you know, pump it up. You've got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You've got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You've got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You've got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You've got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You've got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You've got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up.
Oh, hello, and welcome back to season 4 of the Texas Private School Podcast, previewing the 2023 football season. Walker, how good is it to be back?
It is fantastic, ladies and gentlemen. I am back. I am so excited. It's just the best, man. This is just so exciting. Such a great feeling. And season 4. This is year 4 of this, baby. And I'm so excited to be back. Who would have thought? And we're back better than ever with even better content this year. We're growing like we always say, TXPS to the moon.
I had been waiting on this day for months and months, specifically since December 4th when the state championships were. There is a gaping hole in my soul that only football can fill. It's been that way since I can remember going to A&M football games when I was like 3 years old. I love football season. I am out of high school and college, and I still eat, breathe, sleep, and everything else football. I cannot express to you how excited I am. If you couldn't tell by the intro, we are thrilled to be back here with you, engaging with everyone, giving out horrible picks every week. We're back, we're here, and we have a long 14-ish weeks of football to cover. Let's get right into it. So, first of all, if you're not familiar with us, my name is Wes Tolleson. His name is Walker Lott. We are both ex-private school alumni. I graduated from Grace Community in Tyler, Texas. Walker Lott went to Fort Worth Southwest Christian in Fort Worth, obviously. We both went to A&M. The long story short is we were frustrated by the lack of coverage given to private school sports relative to public school sports. So we decided to start this, TXPS Media. And it's been about a little over 3 years, probably about 3.5 years since that point. And the more that we do it, the more that we love it. And we just keep growing and getting better. So that's the quick spiel. If you're new here, every week we released a podcast just like this. We cover previous week's games. We preview the next week's games. And every week, this year, we're going to have more than one game being covered because Walker and I will both be at games every week. We have associates that will also be covering games for us. We're looking to have, 3, 4, maybe 5 games covered weekly. We're very excited for all of this. Walker Lott, new year, new season, a lot of growth for TXPS. Your thoughts heading into the year?
Like you just said, new year and also new us, because we are officially rebranding from the Texas Private School Podcast to TXPS Media. It's a great rebrand for us because we're getting bigger and we're doing a lot more. And so being able to actually being called a media company will be awesome for us and not the brand for the future. But don't worry, like you just said, the podcast will still be here. We will be dropping episodes every single week, like always, until the season ends up and afterwards. So, yeah, it's a great year for a lot of stuff. And I just am so excited for this season, man.
Absolutely. Yeah. The main reason behind it is, we started as just a podcast. We started just kind of talking via podcast form about things that interested us, things going on in private school. But since then, we've more or less outgrown that. We do a ton more stuff. We're all, photographers, videographers, analysts, graphic designers, literally any hat that you want to put on us. So at the end of the day, we feel like the words TXPS Media encapsulates a lot more of what we do than just the word podcast. Also, I hate the word podcast. I don't like, I don't like just being called a podcast guy because we're a lot more than that. What you see us doing on camera constitutes maybe like 1/10 of what we actually do. So that all being said, if you see TXPS Media in the future, just know, like Walker said, the podcast is not going anywhere. Our content is, for the most part, going to look the exact same, except higher quality and better than the past few seasons. So all that being said, TXPS Media, you'll see all of our socials rebranded to that. Very exciting times here. So that all being said, Walker, we're going to get to preview some incredible games this week, joined by a special guest as well. But before that, I think that we should recap both of the scrimmages we went to. I went to the first 3-team combined scrimmage I think that has ever maybe been had in the history of the world. You went to Houston, St. Thomas, and EHS scrimmage. I will first start by recapping a little bit of what I saw in the North Dallas scrimmage with Fort Worth All Saints, Dallas Christian, and Parish Episcopal. Listen, I texted you this, and it seemed a little surprising, but I said I think DC could very well hang with either of these teams in 11-man football. And I detailed it in a tweet later saying, outside of the offensive line, and fairness to DC, they were missing one of their key offensive linemen, Aiden Wirtz. Outside of the offensive line, every single position DC stacks up. Obviously elite talents with Speedy Nettles and Luke Carney. And then you also have Jaden and Katori Crawl, Jaden Davis at running back. I mean, listen, they have some absolute dudes, and I'm sorry, it's curtains for D3. Cypress has brought in some really talented guys that are going to be very good. They've got some top end talent, but it's DC. You can put them in pin as my state favorite already. And honestly, they're going to be one of the best teams in the state, regardless of classification. They're just absolutely ferocious. And listen, man, Parish still looks the part. I know that they lose a lot. They lose Trey Williams. They lose Daniel Demery, two key members of that 4-time repeat state champion Parish team. But obviously they still have familiar faces like, remember, Sawyer Anderson, one of the best players in the entire state. Hutch Crow, Maddox Reed, you got Sam Liu back on the offensive line. It's going to look a little bit different, especially on defense, which we've alluded to in our previews, but Parish is still Parish, and you have to have them as the state favorite at this point in the year. And now moving into the Division II team that we saw, All Saints guys are settling in. Keldon Ryan is as advertised. You can only take so much from a scrimmage, but it's the best information we have to go off of right now. Listen, Keldon looks mobile. I posted a video of him getting away from pressure and scrambling out in what would have been probably a really, really long run if it wasn't a scrimmage. He also looks really comfortable in the pocket. He steps up when the pocket collapses very easily, makes very tight throws. He's going to be every bit as advertised for Fort Worth All Saints. And both Dougie and Kevin Doddard, the twins from Lake Country Christian that we've spoken on before, they are dadgum impressive prospects. I never realized Dougie was that big until I saw him in person. That dude is a hoss. And Kevin is he's everywhere on the field. Both of those guys are just, the fact that both of them transferred to All Saints is going to make them a very, very, very good team very quickly. Last thing on All Saints. Reed Watkins has district MVP potential, transfer from Brock. I was talking to some guys from All Saints about him just because I noticed, I'm like, like Dougie Doddard is much bigger in person than I thought he would be. They're like, yeah, he runs like a legit laser 4.5. He squats like 500 pounds. And the way that he looks running the ball, he's incredibly hard to tackle. He reminds me of several guys in the past that I've seen that are that way, that just the second they get the ball, they're a threat to score. All of those guys for All Saints are going to be very good. The fact that I got to see 3 of the best teams in the state in 3 different divisions scrimmage all at once on one night, it was a fantastic time. Shout out to Coach Beck. Shout out to Fort Worth All Saints for putting that together. It was a fantastic idea. I'm almost out of breath. Walker Lott, you saw 2 elite Houston teams in St. Thomas and Episcopal face off. How'd that go?
Yeah, you probably had the best teams in DFW, arguably. And I kind of went to the best scrimmage in Houston, arguably. Yeah, well, like we always talked about, these are the times to work out the kinks, figure out kind of their identity, but that's for most of the season, but trying to figure out couple things at the start of this. And of course, I just got my pick is up for fantasy football. I'm also going to be fantasy football drafting during this episode. So I'm in the 13th round. All right.
We have fun here.
All right. Leave your comments down below who I should go. I'm thinking Dalton Kincaid. I've heard good things about him out of training camp. I know I'm speaking too much about this, but this is good content. I do need a defense. Defense comes later. I'll do it on the turnaround because we are doing a snake draft. I'll do Dalton Kincaid. All right, back to the topic at hand. So, it's hard to figure out really the best of these both teams because, it's a scrimmage. They're not able to prepare against each other, prep for it. SCA St. Thomas was without Johan Cardenas. He's still making sure he's 100% for the season, which 100% I agree with. That's a good idea. And they were even without their RB2, who was also out with injury. So they were on their RB3 for that scrimmage. So that's even hard for any team to really have their offense going with that. While I honestly, Episcopal was blitzing all scrimmage. That's all they did. They did cover zero and they blitzed all day. And so it wasn't able to get a usual look for St. Thomas, but for them, especially for their offensive linemen, it's good for them to kind of be like, all right, this is who we're going to face type of thing. So with that, I think what's key for this offense when Johan comes back, he will of course take a lot of attention. The Vanderbilt commit, he looked ready to go. Got to talk to him for a bit, and what's going to be interesting for them is I think Edgecombe is always going to be that second wide receiver that's going to be open a lot of times just because of the of Benton and Cardenas getting a lot of attention, which I would not want to leave Edgecombe open as well, but that's just how sometimes it is. But the Larry Benton from Dante Lewis to Larry Benton is going to be the connection that kind of makes or breaks the offense for St. Thomas. There's a lot of times Benton had a lot of big time catches and throws because that's what was needed. But being able to create separation and getting to those things because he's such an athletic specimen, Benton needs to make sure he's the dog of this year, man. And being able to get over the top, run those go routes, run those post routes, and use his size to an advantage to even do a fade route and other things. That's so key for this offense for St. Thomas. For St. Thomas's defense, having to replace a guy like Grant Stewart and Marquise Chiata, those guys is going to be hard to them to do, but I really like Aaron Valentine, Tyler Day, other things. Seeing Obina Ume, the 26th defensive lineman, come into his own in this scrimmage was kind of fun to see. He still has he's very, very raw, but he has a long way to go. But he is headed in the right direction, and he made a couple key plays for that team, and I'm excited for him. Of course, the man in the middle, Michael Anthony Kura, will be the key piece for this team, and letting him go to work and, playing inside and outside, being the versatile athlete that he is will be key for them. But I think it's a good thing for St. Thomas. Being kind of real, they kind of underwhelmed me a little bit, but, they had a lot of adversity hit them, so it's kind of hard not to kind of take that with a grain of salt, of course. But EHS kind of came out strong. The offensive line looked great. Gordon looked really good. Their offense was humming. Shout out Dan Casey, man. He has offense just going. And a really key piece of that is all right, I'm going to Bills. Bills, Jets, Ravens, Dolphins defense. What are we thinking? Nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills, right? That's just a given. So I'll go Bills defense. All right. Anyways. Looking at EHS, the offensive line looked great. Carson Gordon looked really, really impressive, looked comfortable making plays. Kind of the standout was, of course, Brandon Thomas. And with Jackson Verducci out with injury to hopefully week 6, hope get better, my guy. We're big fans of you over here, and we wish you the best in your recovery. But with him out, Brandon Thomas is going to be having to be the impact guy on offense to make plays happen. And he definitely made him a lot of plays in that scrimmage. He made a lot of people miss. There's one that made one guy slide to one side of the field. It was disgusting. So him being able to be that like running back / athlete role for them will be huge. And Logan Barty on the outside, the 25 wide receiver, will be key piece for that team. He made a couple plays, couple big throws, a couple big catches, which is going to be a key piece for this offense. Another guy that, Braylon Thompson is a guy that, was our DB of the year last year for SPC. But having him play both ways will be huge. And he played both ways a couple times in the scrimmage. And so having him will be a key piece for this team. The offensive line led by Colin Witt and Billy Wheels looked very, very impressive. The defense kind of led by, Madden Morgan and Carson Fowler, who really impressed me too. Guys like that are going to be key pieces of this team. And I think this defense is going to be rock solid. I don't remember the guy's name, but number 20, I think he's a young kid, and maybe I could be wrong about that, but he looked very, very good in that game. And he took a lick one of those times, a crack back block, and he got right back up. He's a tough kid, man. And I think he's going to be a key piece of that other linebacking with Madden as like a true linebacker. I was very impressed with him. But the kid from Ridge Point, Defensive end was also really big. And so guys like that, they have a lot of weapons to kind of come into their own and, be the team that we think they can be in SBC this year. So they're headed in the right direction and led by Steve Lees, who knows what he's doing over there. So I'm excited. I'm excited for those two. And that is my scrimmage recap.
Yeah, all that makes sense. I mean, EHS is ranked number 1 by us for a reason in the SBC. They're going to be very good. It's going to be interesting to see if everyone stays healthy and all those pieces come together. St. Thomas is going to be fine, man. We all always forget that during the scrimmages and usually about the first 2, maybe 3 weeks of the season, I've noticed this since I've started covering, everybody looks rusty. Nobody looks particularly good. It takes a few weeks to shake rust off. I think that'll be fine. I think St. Thomas is going to be all right. And EHS is obviously going to be EHS. But that being said, that gets our scrimmage recaps out of the way. And now, before we cover games, we are going to bring back a fan favorite segment, maybe not fan favorite of Wes Tolleson. Do DC and Parish cover? DC and Parish games were always predicted to be so lopsided that it really wasn't worth us making them games of the week because they were going to be a blowout. So to get DC and Parish the coverage they deserve, we decided to just start picking against the spread. I think I picked in favor of DC and Parish every single week, and every single week they won. I can't remember a single time that it didn't work. But that being said, we do have spreads for both of these teams this week, starting with DC. Does Dallas Christian cover? It is a 34.5-point spread in favor of Dallas Christian versus Bishop Dunn this week. As you remember, last year, DC beat Dunn 34-21. So that is only a 13-point victory, a far cry from 34.5. Walker, I'll let you go first. Does DC cover a 34.5-point spread against Dallas Bishop Dunn?
That's a giant spread.
Large.
No. I'm gonna go no, they do not cover the spread. I think that's a large number for even them to do it. And Quincy Reams over there, and they have a lot of other guys over there. I don't know if we could say, but Rivon Robinson coming over to DC is that's a huge move for him. And they lose Dunn's probably one of their best players. So that's a key loss for Dunn and goes over the DC and yeah,
I'm gonna say DC covers. It's a huge spread. I'm comfortable with that. I think DC 40 pieces, Dallas Bishop Dunn. Listen, Dunn has great skill players. Quincy Reams is fantastic. Bradley Mays on the outside is fantastic. Both very good. They've got Kyle Millette at linebacker, who I'm a huge fan of. Their lines are bad. And when I say bad, I mean BAD bad. I think Porter Nix is just going to absolutely eat these guys breakfast. And then I think, like I said, Dallas Christian, the wealth of riches they have at every single position is absolutely unfair for Division III. I think they 40-piece done to start the season.
All right. I mean, that's a big thing. And so even I said no, give them a little motivation maybe to, cover the spread then. But, that's a huge spread. So especially since they didn't do it last year.
Yeah, we will see for sure. So,
but that was a better done team last year too. But
it was a better done team. But moving into the next game, do the Parish Episcopal Panthers cover? They, for the first time in the history of this segment, one of these teams is an underdog, and not only an underdog, a steep underdog. Parish is almost giving up 3 touchdowns at Aledo. They are plus 19.5, meaning Aledo are 19.5-point favorites in this matchup. If you're confused at all and you've been living under a rock, Aledo is one of the best programs, if not the best program in the entire state of Texas. And Parish beat them last year. Parish beat them 24-17 at Parish. Obviously, this is a much different Parish team. Aledo is going to be very, very good as well. I don't know if I could say that Parish is, I think it'd be kind of crazy to say Parish is a favorite to win this game. I think Parish keeps it within 3 touchdowns. I don't think that's that crazy to say. I think Parish covers a 19.5-point spread. Walker, you're a little more well-versed in public school football than me, so tell me why I am correct or incorrect in that assumption.
I agree with you. I think they cover the spread, but yeah, I can't. I did it last year, and I told them they're not going to win, and then of course Daniel Demery and company said, no. Man, it's hard. That's really hard to. It's hard. They're led by Haas Haney, the former Fort Worth All Saints guy, quarterback, who's now he's a TCU commit. They're led by linebacker Devon Keys, LSU commit, Jaden Allen, Arkansas commit, Chris Johnson, the other corner, who I believe is I don't know, he's another Texas Tech or something like that commit. They have a lot. They have Lion Galore, Hawk, Patrick Daniels, Kadon Finley, the wide receiver, the sophomore wide receiver, who's gotten a lot of praise and impressed me at the state game. This is not a public school podcast, so I'm not going to say much more, but Alito's talented. They're the 5A state championships this past year for a reason, and they don't lose a lot. And that's hard for me to say. They lose, place pieces, but man, Devon Keys is a dog. But Maddox Reed is also a dog, and the offensive line, they prove they can belong with anyone in the state. I'm going to say they for sure cover to answer this segment, but for my pick on the game, you know what? I told them last year I'll never pick against them, so I won't pick against them now. I'll go Parish in this one. This is a game
That's crazy.
I mean, they prove me wrong every single time. I mean, what am I supposed to say? I think it's going to be it. If last year was a bloodbath, this one's going to be just as bad. This is going to be a dogfight for Parish. But if anyone can do it in the state of Texas to compete again and show how good this team is and the culture there at Parish, it's going to be Daniel Novikov's Panthers, man. And Daniel Novikov is going to kind of have that chip on his shoulder, be like, yeah, well, I don't have the Ole Miss commit. I don't have the Stanford commit, and I'll still whoop anyone in the state. And for that attitude, I think he'll come in with, especially it's also going to be at Alito this year. If they walk into town and they walk into Titletown, Texas, and prove they are the true Titletown, call it right. That's a story and a half. Give me Panthers, baby.
That'll be nuts. I will save my official pick until the pick sheet comes out. I'll need to do a little more research on the game, but we will come to that. We will cross that bridge when we come to it. I almost just butchered that phrase. Anyways, before we get into games of the week, we have one last item on the agenda, our week 1 power rankings. We decided we're kicking it off right now. We're doing power rankings off the rip. We decided to heck with everything. We know these are going to get blown up immediately. Why not just get it out of the way now? So without further ado, the TXPS Media Week 1 Power Rankings go as follows. And yet again, this is for all divisions. Number 1, we have Parish Episcopal. Number 2, we have Plano Prestonwood. At number 3, we have Liberty Christian Argyle. Number 4, we have Episcopal High School Bel Air. At number 5, we have Houston St. Thomas. At number 6, there is Fort Worth All Saints. Number 7, we have Dallas Christian out of Mesquite. At number 9, we have Houston Second Baptist. And rounding out the top 10, we have the reigning Division II champions in TAPS, Fort Bend Christian Academy. Walker, I won't stay too long here because we've done a lot of explaining of power rankings in the last few weeks, but all of this stacks up pretty well. Have a nice mix of TAPS D1 through D3 in here, DC being the only D3 team, a couple SPC or one SPC team in the form of Episcopal. Your thoughts on the rankings?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a pretty balanced, and I think this is the right one to at least go into week 1 with. And we're gonna have a lot of it change, especially with the number 2, number 3, the Plano Prestonwood Liberty matchup will kind of prove who's going to be the second best team in the state this year. I'm very excited for that one. EHS after St. Thomas, even though you can't take much away from it, I think EHS right now is more maybe a balanced squad, and so we have them as the best team in Houston this year. St. Thomas is right behind them because they're, just as talented. They have the dudes. Fort Worth All Saints honestly might prove to us that they're maybe a little bit too low. And they might move up the ranks pretty easily. Same with Regents. But DC also. I mean, it's hard for them to prove to us, but they prove they belong, especially in the top 10 with the best teams in private school. And as long as they just keep dominating, teams, when they play like a TCS or a Grace Prep or maybe in state against like a team
Or
like
Bishop
Cypress,
Lynch.
Bishop Lynch will be definitely a huge one who honestly might be right outside of the top 10 right now. So, DC will prove, they belong, especially in the first couple of weeks. So I'm excited for that. Second Baptist in Fort Bend. I mean, 9 and 10, they're probably the two best, some of the other best teams in Houston.
And probably the two teams that hate each other the most on this list. Maybe outside of DC and Regents. That one's close to probably.
100%. So
actually, no. Fort Bend and Second Baptist definitely hate each other more. There is no love lost between those schools.
Yep. So that'll be a good one. But yeah, excited for these. I think that's a good wrap up of everything. Wes, do you have anything?
No, I don't. But you know who does? High Point Signs and Apparel. This episode is brought to you by the formerly mentioned High Point Signs and Apparel. Listen, we're basically walking billboards for High Point at this point. All the merch you've seen us rocking all of our episodes at Walker Lott's rocking right now. You have the hat, you have the shirt, you have the hoodie, you have the wristband that I have never taken off. Listen, all of these were made through High Point. I can't stress enough how fantastic the customer service was. It was the most seamless process. Making merch, apparel or signs or anything of that nature seems like a really daunting process. With High Point, it's not. It's incredibly simple. It's very streamlined. Everyone there is incredibly professional. Listen, they don't miss deadlines. They provide exceptional customer service. They will meet or beat any price. And they also create online stores that can provide your employees with apparel, or they can be profit centers. Listen, the merch that we're about to go live with, quick plug for us, and sell is going to be built through a High Point store. I mean, we've already talked about it. It looks fantastic. I can't stress enough how easy High Point is to work with and the quality of the materials they put out. Just test it for yourself when we give you our merch. I will say it's the most comfortable shirt and hoodie you will ever put on. I will die on that hill. Walker Lott, anything from High Point before we move on?
They're excellent in what they do. All the people we met and collaborated with on all of our projects are awesome. And that's why we continue to work with these guys throughout the process in the next couple of months when we launch our apparel line. Can't say anything better about these guys. They're awesome. And so please, if you need, shirts this season, if you need stuff for your team, please go check them out. They're going to be great with any booster club in the state. They're really great people. So give them a call.
Absolutely. Yet again, we do not endorse products that we don't support. That's a key tenet of our success. So yet again, High Point Signs and Apparel, their links are in our description. Go check them out. Go order stuff through them. They are fantastic. So thank you to High Point Signs and Apparel for sponsoring this episode. Okay, Walker, with all of that behind us, it is now finally time for us to preview some football games. So let's cut into that real quick with a special guest. We'll see you there. And now we transition into our week 1 5 games of the week with Fordham receiver Ricky Gonzalez. That's TAP's D1 Offensive Player of the Year as judged by us, Ricky Gonzalez. Ricky, number 1, it's nice to finally meet you. Number 2, how are you doing? How are things up in the Bronx? And y'all's season's pretty close around the corner here, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. So I'm doing great. Our season is very close. We have a game in about 5 days, August 26th.
Wow.
At Albany. So things have been going great up here. I just finished my first fall camp a couple of days ago. We had to report a little early because we play a week 0 game this year. But it's been going pretty good. Been learning the plays, learning the playbook, just like, regular freshman stuff. And then been excited. I've been getting in the rotation with the ones, and I'm just excited for the season, excited to see where it takes me, and hopefully just have like a healthy, good season.
Absolutely. So you're showing them up in New York how y'all do it down in San Antonio, it sounds like.
Yes, sir.
Dude, that's awesome. So, as a former receiver, I've got to pick your brain on one thing. It's a question that's been on my mind a lot. I feel like every receiver has to have, a favorite route that they run. I know mine was the comeback. I've beaten it to death on this podcast and probably overstated how good I was at running it. But I'm really curious. There's a whole route tree. There's so many you can choose from. Did you have a favorite route that you ran in high school?
In high school, yeah. My favorite one was the post, just because my quarterback Jace he could throw it. Like we just repped it so many times. It was just kind of like he would know if I would take it flat or if I would take it high, and the ball would just be there. So it'll probably be the post. There's just so many stuff you can do on it. You can do stuff at the top. You can take it either way. You just have like a bunch of freedom. And then, obviously, my favorite play in high school was we would go trips to the right. I'd be single side. I'd have the post. It's pretty much a one-on-one if there's no safety help. And that's just kind of like that was kind of like my play. Like when they called that play, I was like, all right, I know I'm getting the ball. So that's probably my favorite one.
I got chills thinking about that because we did the exact same thing. We'd call a play, we'd have trips to one side. I'd be the backside receiver, and they usually it'd have to be somebody very athletic playing corner, very unathletic, sorry, playing me on corner if they were going to do that. Because obviously I'm not the most athletic specimen on the planet. But whenever I got that call, I was like, oh, it's go time, and it's it's a beautiful route to run. But I do have to ask another question, and I'm really interested to hear the response to this one. So I'm sure all year, especially being in the D1 South, all y'all heard from, all the media and especially us was, Houston, St. Thomas, St. Thomas, St. Thomas, St. Thomas. They're great. They have all these athletes, et cetera. We picked them to win every game. We picked them to win district and we picked them to beat y'all. And then I remember Walker and I are at the Brazos Christian game on our phones and we see, oh my God, Antonian just beat Houston, St. Thomas. How did that feel to beat them, win district, and basically shut everyone up that had been picking St. Thomas up to that point?
That felt amazing. It was a great week. It was a great week. Obviously being in the South, being in San Antonio in general, doesn't even matter private school or not. You're kind of always, I guess, put under, Dallas and Houston, which, Dallas and Houston, they're really, really talented cities and they have really talented football. But sometimes, in San Antonio, we kind of want our respect. And last year we felt like we can compete with St. Thomas. And it was just a great week. I know I was telling y'all earlier, we were all watching the podcast that week, the team dinner, and we're just waiting for somebody to pick us, waiting, no picks. And we just kind of looked at each other. We were like, all right, then it's time to prove them wrong. You know what I mean? And it was great. The whole atmosphere, I got to give props to St. Thomas. Their student section is very colorful and it's a cool student section. It was a good atmosphere. It was a great game. It was probably, it's got to be between that one and the Central game last year, probably my two favorite games I ever played in. And it was great. Winning district for the first time in like 9 years, getting Coach Fushak his first district championship as a first-year head coach. It was a great week.
You kind of balled out that game, didn't you? Because I remember watching the highlights. You kind of took that on your, that chip on your shoulder, and you went to work, didn't you?
I did. Yeah, I had a little something to prove that game, especially we had worked so hard that year, and it was kind of like this is it. That was one of our main goals, just to win district. And I wanted it very bad. So
no, you talked about the culture of kind of San Antonio. I kind of it's a two-parter. Talk about kind of that culture of San Antonio because like we say, we're always able to go to Dallas or Houston a lot, but like special. Here's your thing. I will be down in San Antonio this week, and I'm really excited about that. Talk to me about that kind of the culture of San Antonio, and then two, you kind of mentioned it too. Talk about what Coach Fushak kind of means to that team. Second year now. How was that? How was his first year, and how do you like him as a coach and building that culture there at Antonian?
Right. I would say San Antonio, just as a football city, I think it's a very underrated football city.
It is for sure.
I was actually born in Dallas. I grew up in Dallas for a little bit and moved here. But San Antonio, even like youth football, obviously you got the Outlaws. It's a football city, and I feel like it gets overlooked a lot because we might not have the top end talent that Dallas has or Houston or stuff like that. But I feel like obviously you're going to the Dome, I had never played in there. And, being in there it's a high school football all-star game right after the All-American game. So you're thinking, I was thinking, it's probably going to be a few thousand people in there, nothing crazy. And then you walk in for warm-ups.
Right.
There's 22,000 people. The whole first row is filled. It looks like a UTSA game. So I think, yeah, it's crazy. I think, San Antonio, it's a nice community. They really care about football. Like we were saying earlier, like when it comes to San Antonio football community things, I feel like the whole community unites and does a great job of making all the high school football players feel like it matters. You know what I mean?
No doubt. Hey, I mean,
Okay.
for A&M, we have to love our San Antonio guys with, DeMarvin Leal, Jalen
Yeah.
Jones, the past couple of years getting drafted. I mean, those are our guys that, if you can get the kind of the best from San Antonio every year, your football team can be pretty dang
Yeah.
good. So
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Also, I got to shout out my guy, Kellen Mond. I've been
Yeah.
he's San Antonio A&M legend.
Yep.
That's my guy. I've been working out with him before I left and all that. So
Yeah. He
he's
went to
Awesome.
Reagan, right? He went to Reagan before he went to
with the
IMG.
Reagan. Yes, he
Yeah.
did. He did.
Cool. All
But
right, man. Wes, take it away. What are we doing for the picks, man?
So all that being said, Ricky, you ready to pick some football games? Have a lot of people get upset with you if you pick the wrong team.
yes.
Dude, now you get to be on the other side. It's a fun time, more or less. But all of that being said, guys, let's get into the fun part of the episode. Let's pick some dadgum games. And the first game we will be previewing in the 2023 season is Prestonwood Christian at Liberty Christian Argyle. The spread has Prestonwood as a 14.5-point favorite. They have an 80% chance to win this game, according to the numbers. What a way to kick off the year. Husky commit Cole Welliver, Tulane commit Kellen Tasby, an offense of Janisek, Stump, Garnett, and Brown versus a defense of Lunsford, Harwell, Lapiri, and Tucker. And the flip side shows Tasby and Navier facing off against Witten, Saul, and Brown, and maybe Baby Witten. I don't know how much he's going to get to play, but that kid looks like a freak. I know Massey Ratings has Prestonwood as a staunch favorite, but it's really, really hard for me not to say that Liberty might be the best team in the state. There's just a decent number of questions I have about the Lions offense. Is junior Caden Collins getting the rocket running back? Who besides Navier is going to step up at wide receiver? Maybe it's familiarity bias on my part. I got the opportunity to go to Liberty and watch them. I know Walker saw Prestonwood. I haven't had a chance to see this Lions squad yet, but maybe it's familiarity bias, but I have to take the Warriors in the spot. I have faith in Welliver and Janisek and Stump and all of them. I think there's more guys that have shown, at least on the offensive side, what they can do. Prestonwood's a fantastic team, a sleeper pick to win D1 by a lot of people I've been talking to, but we're going to see here very shortly. Walker Lott, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting thing. You talked about the running back position, but you kind of forgot to think about Takashi Shaw, who's transferring in from TCA Addison. Remember him? He's gonna probably be fighting with Caden Collins for that running back one spot. Last year Liberty beat Prestonwood 28-7 and kind of shocked all of us for the surge of Argyle Liberty in Division II. It's gonna be interesting to see. You make a great point. Like, how do you? It's going to be an interesting game, and I can't believe this is week 1. Like, we're back to it. Like, I'm back into it. It's kind of crazy, but I'm gonna I'm gonna go kind of with what I'm more familiar with. I'm gonna go Argyle Liberty. I think that's the pick. That offense is deadly. The guys on defense with CJ and Mac and other guys, Brady playing both ways probably again this year. I mean, they have some dudes over there, man, and I'll go Liberty, but I'm excited for you to watch Wes Kellen Tasby and see what he brings to Taps this year, because he had the Tulane commit who, Tulane just beat USC last year, so they're the legit squad and they go after good players now, and Tasby might be the next coming of like elite private school quarterback. So I'm excited for this, man. It's gonna be a good game.
Absolutely. So, Ricky, we basically have a very, very good offense versus a very, very good defense. I'm really curious to see which side you pair with.
Well, going off my experience, I've never played Prestonwood or Liberty, but I think Prestonwood, just going off last year, I know we were kind of looking ahead last year because we knew we might play them, and I was kind of watching some of their film. I think in general, Prestonwoods are they always are very strong. They always have a really good program. They always got really good players. So I would lean towards Prestonwood, but the way you're picking is making me think maybe Liberty. But I'm gonna go with Prestonwood. I feel like, they are a sleeper pick to win D1. They're, like I said, they always have great athletes, and they're just, you can't really bet against them. They're always in the mix, and I think, they'll probably have a really good chance to win week 1.
He makes a great point.
Ricky, I'm really thankful that you picked Prestonwood there, because there's a thing on this podcast, and you saw it when y'all played St. Thomas. If we ever all three pick a team, then that means the other team's going to win, and we're going to get clowned for it. It happens almost every single time. So I appreciate you being a buffer for that. That does mean a lot to us. If you ever on this pick sheet see me and Walker side with one team, I really urge you to pick the other teams. That's going to really hedge our bets really well. The next game was supposed to be going.
I have to add my 2 cents every time. I'm going to say, I think a big battle is always like it is always going to be the trenches. How can the Argyle offensive line compete and hold off Harwell, LaPerry, and Tucker? Jack Harwell coming in that interior with Nathan LaPerry off the edge is going to be a deadly mismatch. And they have, Humphrey and the big left tackle they always have. Thank you. Those 2 guys are going to be deadly, but are all 5 of them going to be able to withstand that presence on the defensive line? It's going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah, man, it's going to be a fun time. I was going to do Antonian versus Holy Cross as the second game, but I think we're going to save that for the very end, just for dramatic, since we have a former Antonian receiver on the call with us. So let's move forward to a game in Houston. The Woodlands Christian Academy at the John Cooper School, the reigning SPC 3A champions, John Cooper. John Cooper is a 22.5-point favorite in this game. They have a 90% chance to win, according to the ratings. So let's go back a year. In 2022, the Woodlands held a high-powered Dragons offense to a mere 7 points en route to a 10-7 Week 1 victory. This year, a much younger Dragon squad led by Dean Calhoun will attempt to start the season on a higher note. He will get significant help from 6'5" wide receiver Gus Feinberg and 225-pound linebacker Cole Shepard, some really, really good talent in the lower division of SBC. However, the Woodlands returns a stout host of contributors: running back Bo Ellis, defensive back Duke Hayes, and defensive end Gunnar Oakland, and Baylor Bears target linebacker Grayson Boker. I know that Walker was really high on him when he saw him. Cooper has gotten so used to us saying that they're a lock to win state that they take it as disrespect when I say they're not state favorites. And they're really not going to like when I say the Woodlands Christian is a comfortable favorite here. Warriors roll. Walker Lott.
I like that pick. I really like that pick. And I think I'm going to match you. And I think there's just a lot of unknown with John Cooper again this year. They have Dean Calhoun, and Dean Calhoun probably is going to make me, shut up for the next couple of weeks, because he's going to probably win the game by himself, because he's that type of player. But I really like Grayson Boker. 6'3" linebacker, moves really, really well. He'll probably play both ways. A guy like that is, he's an impact player. It will make plays when he needs to. And having other guys like Jonathan Vidal at quarterback, guys like that are going to be key pieces for them. And, TWCA, John Cooper came to TWCA last year and, they lost. And now John Cooper has them at home. And I think TWCA is going to roll into there and win again. I think give me the Warriors.
All righty, Ricky. You know what I just said about being Walker picking the same team. You are your own agent. You can pick whoever you want. Just know I'll be much more comfortable if you pick a certain team. But floor is yours.
Well, I'm gonna go with John Cooper.
Okay.
I think they'll have, I'm not I don't know too much about some of the lower divisions. I have heard about John Cooper. I know they have a good amount of good players. I sort of know some of the coaches down there. I know how they run it down there. I think I've heard really good things about it. So I think they'll have a chip on their shoulder. They're not picked to win the game. I think they'll come out full of upset.
I will tell you, John Cooper is building one of the premier cultures in the state. I talk about culture a lot, and all three of us are guys that played high school football. We know the importance of a solid culture and a really good locker room. John Cooper has one of the best in SBC. And even though they might lack a little bit in talent this year, their culture, I think, will make them competitive in a lot more games than we expect them to be in. I think the Woodlands Christian has more talent, will probably win, but I don't think it's a super big margin. I think it's going to be close, and me and Walker might be sweating this one out at the end. But let us move on to another Houston on Houston matchup. Houston St. John's at Houston St. Thomas. St. Thomas is a 7.5-point favorite. They have a 65% chance to win this game. Last year, they won this week one matchup 43-27. And oh my Lord, is this a fun game to kick off the year. First of all, just look at the quarterback talent on both sides. Two of the top-rated guys in the state, Lewis and Gill, have the opportunity to turn this into bombs over Baghdad. Or they can hand it off to two of the best athletes in the state, Johan Cardenas and Cole Allen. Allen technically plays slot, but they're going to find ways to get him the ball regardless. Defensively, I just think St. Thomas is going to have a better chance of limiting the Mavericks. With Tyler Day and Michael Anthony Okoro making up the front, it's going to be really tough sledding on the ground for St. John's. However, Aaron Valentine's going to have to pick up some slack in the secondary following Grant Stewart's departure to Manville. I think Gill, Hoffrecht, Allen, and Murphy are going to have to Operation Meeting House St. Thomas if they want a puncher's chance here. If you don't know what Operation Meeting House is, look it up. You'll understand the analogy. But I'm going to have to go with St. Thomas in this game. Ricky's probably tired of us talking about St. Thomas after everything that he heard last year. Walker, Lott, what are your thoughts?
Man, it's gonna be an interesting one this game. I think it's gonna be a little bit closer than last year. I think, a senior, Stephen Gill with a great receiving core led by Cole Allen, like you said. You have to remember Donley, Murphy, Hoffrecht, those type of guys at receiver, that's gonna be a skilled receiving core room. But I think this is another game that's gonna be one in the trenches, and I love having Michael Anthony Okura on my side of my pick. And, I'm going to go Houston St. Thomas in this one. But, Michael, I don't know if you listen or whatever, but I need a couple sacks. I need a couple sacks from this game, man. I really do. Because I think if he can disrupt, having the guys off the edge like they do, like Obina Ume, the 26th defensive lineman, and then Tyler Day, maybe blitzing or playing coverage, I think the front seven is not going to win them this game. So give me Houston St. Thomas.
I think that is some very good analysis. Ricky Gonzalez, your thoughts on the game?
Well, as much as I would like to not pick them, I'm actually going to have to go with Houston St. Thomas, having that I've played them twice. Kind of the same stuff I was saying about John Cooper. They have a really great coach. They have a really great program. They're always really good. And, playing a lot of those same guys last year, Dante Lewis is a baller. And then Johan Cardenas, talking to him, I actually didn't get to play against him last year, but talking to him, seeing him in track season, he's a freak. He's, benches crazy amount of weight, runs super fast. So, I can't really count him out. Me personally, I expect pretty high things from them this season, as far as the D1 landscape goes and just competing in the playoffs and all that. So I'm gonna have to pick them to win this game.
Talking more on Johan's bench, I benched 225 by 5 around that time and was just over the moon. I was just so incredibly happy, and probably no less than like 3 hours later, I opened Twitter and Johan's benching 225 by like 12 or 15. I'm like, can I not have any nice things? But all that being said, that dude is a freak. I mean, you combine that, and he's not just strong, he's fast, he's athletic, he can go lateral. I mean, he's a huge piece of what St. Thomas is going to lean on this year. And if he stays healthy, I mean, he's got an MVP caliber season in him, I think. But all that being said, we have 3 for St. Thomas, which scares me deeply. Moving on into the second to last game we will cover, we have Dallas First Baptist at Brazos Christian. Our Central Texas associate, newly hired, Steven Johnson, will be on site at this game. We're very excited for Steven to interact with all of y'all and get some great coverage. Go follow him when the time comes. That being said, Brazos Christian is a 24.5-point favorite in this game. They have an 89% win chance as of now. Lubbock Christian might be the favorite in D4 heading into this season, but these two teams are going to be nipping at their heels very early. The amount of talent First Baptist brings to the table is insane. The air attack featuring Elijah Kaysen, Dominic Sadu-Robinson, Caleb Mitchell, and throwing to them is our Division IV Offensive Player of the Year, Hunter McCoy. If you're unfamiliar with Hunter McCoy, turn on his huddle tape. It doesn't lie. It's one of the most fun things you'll ever watch since Johnny Manziel played football. It's a great time. Then you add in other Division I defensive guys like Corey Thomas and Abuchi Godwin. And from a prospect standpoint, this is far and away the best roster in Division IV. However, on the other side of the coin, you have what is most likely the deepest roster in the division. You have Jackson Caffey, Chance Locker, Ben Tillery, Brody Garner. The list goes on and on. Whereas First Baptist will have more star power, I think Brazos Christian brings the more complete team to the table. I think the spread is really off here. I would guess it's a one-score game late in the fourth quarter. I only wonder if Brazos Christian is going to be stout enough in the back end to limit this First Baptist passing attack. Even with my questions, I'm going to take the Eagles by a very small margin here. I have more faith in their offensive line. I think at this point in the season, Brazos Christian might have the edge here. Walker Lott. It's a tough one, dude.
This is probably, yeah, this is a tough one. This is also a game that is going to help us figure out how good is the North compared to the South. Because if, they come all the way to Brazos Valley and blows out Brazos Christian, it kind of sets the stone that Lubbock Christian and Dallas First Baptist will be in their own kind of league compared to the South. Because this is probably the best team in the South in Division IV. I'm really excited to see the kind of those young guys that they keep telling us about, guys, the 26s and 27s that we've heard a lot about. Give me Dallas First Baptist. I think this is the pick. And, in this level, offensive line is definitely a play. And having a guy like Brody Garner on one side is going to be, you need to have a decent offensive line to compete against a guy like that. But I think having Hunter McCoy that can create and, do stuff with his legs and get out of the pocket and make stuff happen, I think is key for Division IV team winning it all, especially with the receivers he has. Give me Dallas First Baptist.
Yeah, I think that could be a good pick. My only question is going to be, have they shored up the defense from last year? Because their defense was absolutely abysmal. But you add in, if some of those receivers can go both ways, then you have Corey Thomas and Abuchi Godwin on the defensive line. I think they can fix some problems. We're just going to have to see. Me and Walker have made our picks. Ricky, I'm very curious to see. D4 is very hard to analyze if you're not like in depth like with this, like me and Walker are. But I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this game.
Well, me being obviously a receiver, kind of hearing the matchups, I'm probably gonna side with First Baptist just because of all the star power. I understand the questions about depth, how there's a lack of depth. And there's a little bit more depth on the other team, but me being a receiver, I believe, receivers can take over games, and especially having three of them, that really helps because you're not just going to one guy the whole time, so you can't really double anyone, and it just makes, like you were saying, the back end's just gonna have a really tough, hard day covering all those guys. So I'm probably gonna go for First Baptist.
I think those are both good picks by y'all.
I love his logic. That's a great logic, man.
It really is. We're having the guest out analyze both of the hosts on this show, but I'll take it. I think it just means that we're good at picking guests. But that is enough in D4. Now we are going to move to a game that I'm sure Ricky is very excited for us to cover. That is Antonian versus Holy Cross. Sadly, there's no spread on this game, so I can't put numbers there. Can we call this a Holy Bowl? I'll call it the Holy Bowl light. I'm sure Ricky would take great disrespect if we call it the Holy Bowl. But Friday, August the 25th, we'll put a Catholic showdown on display when the Antonian Apaches face off against the Knights of Holy Cross. Standout quarterback Gibby Alvarado returns to Holy Cross for his junior campaign and is flanked by returners Marcus Perez and Jose Lerma. The Knights will make a solid push in the D3 South, but they face a formidable D1 foe in Antonian. The D1 South champions return the three-headed monster of Toscano, Strode, Moreno, and with help from the likes of Bode Ferguson and Diego Moran, I have to think the Apaches assault the Knights in the Alamo Dome. I'm really high on Antonian. You know, at the end of the day, it's a TAPS D1 versus TAPS D3 matchup. Holy Cross is going to make a push to win the Division 3 South, but it's a Division 1 team. I wouldn't overthink it that much. I think Antonian gets the edge here. Walker Lott.
Yeah, this is gonna be a fun one. I'll be on site for this one. I'm so excited to get down to San Antonio. Guys, there's some young guys in Holy Cross that kind of made some all district, all states lists, like JJ Costa from last year that I remember, that I'm excited to see. But um, one of my favorite players, especially when we went and watched them last year against Nolan. Riley Schroeder's a dog, man. I think that dude is different. And we picked him in my fantasy draft over the summer, and that guy, like, he will line up on offense and cook your best corner, and then he'll go walk out there and just clamp down your best receiver. And a guy like that just makes games different and harder for any offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator. I know Ricky will talk much more about his squad, but I think a difference maker like Raleigh is going to make this game much, much harder for Gibby to kind of create and, do what he needs to do, maybe locking down his best receivers. So give me the Apaches in this one. And hey, all right, Ricky, go ahead. Just talk to me about the San Antonio game. Go ahead.
Well, obviously we already know who I'm gonna pick. I really hope that doesn't jinx them because we're
Oh,
all
that's a
three
good
picking
point.
them. But yeah, I'm gonna have to go with my squad. Um, kind of going off what you were saying, I think Raleigh is definitely the key. He plays both sides. He's like you said, he's a dog. He can go for 150 and lock your best receiver up for like under 50 yards. So I
Yep.
think he's definitely going to be the key. But obviously, you still have Jace. He's the front runner of the offense. He controls the offense. He's been there. He's going to be his third year starting. He knows the offense. He knows the reads. So he's very experienced. And then you got a bunch of other guys who have been there for about 3 years now. Bodie Ferguson, Don Samaniego. You got new guys like Mikey Moreno. He's getting his second year experience.
Mm.
So I'm gonna have to go with them. I think it'll probably be a decently close game, but I think Antonio will pull him out. Coach Fushesco in his second year. He did amazing his first year, and I think, he doesn't want to really slow down. So I'm gonna have to go with Antonio.
I think that's smart logic. Ricky, are you a little frustrated that they're moving this into the dome right after you leave?
Yeah, I was it was funny. We had it was like the December. I was talking to my coach. He's telling me all the new stuff they got as soon as I left. Because I actually wanted going into my senior, I wanted to be number 0.
Mm.
And he had told me, no, we don't have number 0. And as soon as I got back from Christmas break, he was telling me how they're getting stickers, they got number 0, they're playing in the Alamo Dome. I was like, where was all this when I was here? But I'm happy for them. I'm gonna be watching their games actually the day before mine, so I'm gonna try to watch as much as I can. And I'm wishing them the best and wishing them the best in the season. I know they're gonna ball out.
Absolutely. Well, Ricky, we will be hosting a Twitter space that Friday night. I know you're super busy. You'll probably be in some team event, but if you by chance want to come on and talk a little bit about that game or what you saw, you are more than welcome to. We would love to have you. You're a fantastic speaker, by the way. This went very
Yeah.
well. And I think I would like to give you another opportunity just to speak on Antonian and everything. But Ricky, anything that you want to plug or anything that you want to leave us with before we get out of here?
Anyone viewing, if you can, we play Fordham football. We play Albany on ESPN week 0, August 26th. Tune in. We're trying to make a deep run in the playoffs this year, win the Patriot League. So just support and watch. And shout out to my guys at Antonia again. Shout out Coach Fushak. Wishing them the best. And yeah.
All right, I got one last question. All right, I'm gonna go out there, go get some good food. Where should I go in San Antonio? Where are the recommendations?
What is your favorite kind of food?
I mean, if I'm going down there, I'm going probably getting tacos, fajitas, burrito, like something like that, right? Like if I'm going to San Antonio, I have to.
I would say if you want really, really good Mexican food, I'll say go to a place called Glorious.
Okay.
It's like near like Alamo Heights.
Okay.
It's really good. That's that's like the nice restaurant I go when I want really good Mexican food. So I'd probably say there.
Okay.
And then
What's a place that you always went to growing up? Like, what's the place that you and your Antonian guys, like after practice or whatever, where's the place y'all go to?
we went to well, I'm pretty sure y'all haven't too. We went to Las Palapas a lot. Like after like summer camp, we'd go.
Yeah.
We
It
went
goes
to
hard.
Gloria's is really good. Trying to think. Yeah, I'd probably say Gloria's. Gloria's is the best food spot
Yep.
like I go to.
Cool. I'll make the move then. I'll give you the recommendation. How's that? I'll tell you how it is afterwards.
Sounds good. I'm just letting you know the wait is a little crazy, so you might want to
Okay. I'll go.
book something because if not, you're gonna be sitting there for a long time. But that's good because it means there's a lot of people there.
Very true. Very true. Very true.
Well, absolutely. Well, with all that being said, Ricky, first of all, thank you so much for coming on. It was a great conversation. It was great to hear your insight and different points of view that you had than us. It was a really good time overall. But we are incredibly excited to kick off week 1. Yet again, we will have 3 analysts in the field. I will be at Prestonwood and Liberty. Walker will be at. I'm going to be at Walker. Tell the people.
Antonian versus Holy Cross in the Alamo Dome.
And Stephen Johnson will be at Brazos Christian and Dallas First Baptist. So, guys, as always, this has been the Texas Private School Podcast. I have been 1/3 of your hosting crew, Wes Tolleson. Walker Lott and Ricky Gonzalez have fantastically been themselves. We will see you in the week 2 preview. See you later.
3, 2, 1.